Prepare for warp speed as we embark on a voyage through the vast expanse of science fiction in movies and television series. From distant planets to alien civilizations, we delve into the heart of the unknown, unraveling the tales that have captured audiences for generations. Get ready to unlock the secrets of the universe on Code Flix. Hello and welcome to Code Flix, the podcast where we take a deep dive into your favorite sci-fi and fantasy TV shows and movies. I'm Andre Bonner, and in today's episode, we'll be looking at the Immortal series from 2000. This is perhaps another little-known series from my teenage years. If I had these powers, there are a few demons that I would slay. It has a lot of interesting tropes and themes which we're going to be looking at in this episode, especially where it comes to having a power of not dying, living, and being able to heal oneself. That's interesting. An oath sworn is an oath answered. An oath of vengeance for a life taken, a past destroyed, a future threatened. Enemy of darkness, he walks the earth relentless. His mission, to hunt the messengers evil and drive them back to hell. Now the light of the earth depends on the Immortal. The Immortal is a Canadian horror-based martial arts TV series which aired from October 7, 2000 to June 2001 and had 22 episodes. It was created by Kerry Salmon and Chuck Konzelman, starring Lorenzo Lamas, Steve Braun, April Tellerick. The executive producers are Michael Gatiss, Harold Goldstein, Tim Gamble. Production companies are Hilltop Entertainment, Studio 8 Productions, Peace Arch Entertainment Group. In 16th century Asia, Raphael Cain sees his wife slain and his daughter taken by supernatural villains from the underworld. He vows to pursue the demons through the centuries to kill them all and find his daughter, and with the help of a mystic, he is taught the magic and samurai swordsmanship it will require to accomplish his oath. His reluctant squire Goodwin follows him through time, helps him in his quest. Now, in the 21st century, Cain and Goodwin are joined by a psychologist, Sarah Beckman, who studies outerworldly anomalies. Cain will need all the help he can get because now the lead demon Malus and his henchwoman Vashista are gathering power and making life in the 21st century America very uncomfortable. So there's a few tropes that comes up in The Immortal. One is, of course, the actual curse of immortality. The fact that, he is burdened with this eternal life, a life that he has dedicated to justice, and he longs for that human connection on the level of being able to live his life to its fullest with that person. What does it mean to someone like an immortal that cannot die and will just see their loved ones die in front of them? So it's almost like they don't see life the same way that a person who might only have 50 to 70 years, right? But someone who can live beyond
that, and be able to heal quickly and, to recover from diseases and so on, So there isn't much of that, kind of feeling that that person can have. How can they truly say that they love this person, because they would just be, they can't commit themselves, or they will find themselves in anguish. Headless Horseman, just like in Highlander, and that's probably one of another episode we might cover. It is this type of, we have to ensure that we are working towards the goal. Using this immortality isn't necessarily just for that person, it's not just for Raphael. He is able to help others by using his immortality for the purposes of dispatching evil and, the demons. So, by going through this, they're, trying to dispatch them at, each step of the way, each demon, he comes to understand not just himself, not just his mission, but as a whole, be able to bring us into that understanding of what it means to live through for the mission, live life for that particular mission that he has. Another trope that I've seen is for the love of Satan. So in the series, many times it is, suggested that these demons are the most depraved among us. And it brings that idea of how we interact, with persons, especially persons who we consider to be up to no good, evil, right? And that you expect them to be the kind of persons that would definitely look, sound, act evil. But in many cases, the so-called evil in the series is portrayed as sometimes overly so evil. So it's almost like, oh, this is definitely evil. This is definitely looking evil, sounds evil, right? It's not hard to picture it. Another trope is the demonic party idea. So this whole idea of, having these evil being, wicked and vile, they just love anything that is, not good, not clean, not hygienic. They're all about the rottenness. And it brings over into a lot more of the portrayals of all of the, the different type of demons and the evil that is out there, right? And I think that at some level, it's just the way they wrote it at that time to make sure that people can identify it right away, and it's not something that's too close to home. But if you were writing something for nowadays, you want to kind of subvert expectations. So it would be the persons that look very clean and look very put together that you'd have to watch out for. Now, there are a few themes and symbols that came out of the narrative. Some of these prominent themes and symbols include immortality. The series revolves around the concept of immortality, with the main character, Raphael Cain, being an immortal being who has lived for centuries. The theme is explored through his experiences, struggles, and relationships. And we see this a lot with, his relationship to Goodwin and Sarah, the way how he interacts with them, how they work on missions together, the different things that they go through at a human level, those human interactions. Good versus evil. The show often pits good against evil, with Raphael fighting against various demons who threaten humanity. This theme is reflected in the use of symbols such as the sword, which serves as a symbol of justice and protection. So, right there we can see that, he being able to, dispatch evil, working to serve the greater purpose of good in the world, is making things better for them. Mortality and mortal life. Despite being immortal, Raphael is still human and struggles with the concept of mortality from time to time. This theme is explored through his relationships with the characters that pop up, like Sarah and, several other lesser characters that might have popped up over the series. And this is even reflected in the fact that his life before becoming the immortal would have, exemplified one that was supposed to be mortal. It was supposed to be just a simple life, living with his wife and child. But, being thrust into this life of becoming immortal would have made him, somehow reflect on that. Right? The power of love and friendship. The series highlights the importance of love and friendship in human life, with Raphael's relationships with his friends and loved ones serving as a source of strength and motivation. And we see that in several different ways. We see that in the fact that Sarah, he would come to the aid of Sarah many times, not just because he's trying to save her life, but because he really does cherish her and she is an integral part of the team. And it's the same for Goodwin, even though it has been the fact that Goodwin has been his squire for, all the time that they have been together, working on the missions that they are on. The struggle for power. The show often explores the struggle for power with characters vying for control and dominance, especially the demons in the demon world. We see that with Malus and, Vasishta and many other demons who try to, do their part to take down the head ones, whether they try to help the immortal sometimes just to get ahead, or they try to, trick their own colleagues, if I can call it that, or their fellow demons, And the supernatural. The series delves into the supernatural with characters encountering various entities and phenomena, especially when it comes to demonic elements, anything that's surrounding all of that. There was a particular episode which delved into like stories like Hansel and Gretel and, those kind of stories, right? So here are some of the symbols that are included in the series. The sword, it serves as a symbol of justice, protection, and power. It is a central element in the series, with Raphael using it to fight against the demons and the demonic threats and protect the innocent. And I've seen where the sword, it just seems to, but I guess it's probably based on either the way how they wrote it or if it was intentional. that the sword, just seems to always be there when he needs it, right? So he will be fighting, whether he will be kicking ass or he will be busting the guns, him have, and then, produce a sword and take out the demon, and you have to be like, wow, Another symbol that I recognize was the use of religious iconography. So, especially where it comes to the demonic threats, demons can go near churches, bells drive them crazy, that sort of thing, Another symbol that I notice is, the demons themselves are in a particular hierarchy, and it's symbolic of the fact that is how it is expected that, if God has its own hierarchy of powers and so on, it would reflect right back at how evil is structured. So it's like you have the foot soldiers, and then you have the generals, and then you have the main guy. So, whether it be the devil or, another head demon or something like that, all right? That's trying to become the devil or the main demon. Here is a character analysis of the main characters in the series. Raphael Cain, played by Lorenzo Lamas, the main protagonist of the series. Raphael is an immortal being who has been tasked with sending demons back to hell. He is a skilled martial artist and swordsman, and is accompanied by his loyal companion, Goodwin. Throughout the series, Raphael struggles with his immortal curse and his desire to find his daughter, Kiyomi. Goodwin, played by Steve Braun. Goodwin is Raphael's loyal companion and squire. He is also an immortal and has been by Raphael's side for centuries. Goodwin is a skilled fighter and provides comic relief in the series. Dr. Sarah Beckman, played by April Telek. Dr. Beckman is a parapsychologist who becomes allied with Raphael and Goodwin in their battle against demons. She is a scientist who is fascinated by the supernatural and is initially skeptical of Raphael's claims of immortality. Kiyomi, played by Regan Hangeswa. Kiyomi is Raphael's daughter who was kidnapped by demons when she was a child. Throughout the series, Raphael is driven by his desire to find and rescue his daughter. Yushiro, played by Robert Ito. Yushiro is Raphael's father-in-law and the one who gave him the power to swear an oath to send demons back to hell. He is a wise and powerful man who serves as a mentor to Raphael. The Immortal 2000 series production design was a unique blend of martial arts, horror, and fantasy elements. The series was set in 16th century Asia and featured a mix of historical and supernatural settings. The production design team worked to create a visually striking and atmospheric environment that transported us to a different time and place. You really felt like you were somewhere else. You were in a different environment, whether you were in somewhere that seemed familiar or not. The show use of color was a key aspect of its production design. The color palette was muted and earthy, with a focus on browns, tans, and greens. This created a sense of warmth and authenticity, and helped to ground the show's fantastical elements in reality. The use of lighting was also important, with a focus on soft, natural light and shadows to create a sense of mystery and tension. The set design was another key aspect of the show's production design. The sets were designed to be functional and practical, with a focus on creating a sense of space and depth. The use of props and special effects was also important, with a focus on creating a sense of realism and authenticity. And this is true because you never felt like, all right, this was just too much special effects or this was too much visually. It was what it was. It was realistic. For its time, it would keep you in the world. So you feel like you could actually be in that particular place with them. The costume design was also a key aspect of the show's production design. The costumes were designed to be functional and practical, with a focus on creating a sense of authenticity and period accuracy. And this is true especially for the use of, the kimonos and the old style of dressing, in different periods of time based on wherever the episode would be set. The use of fabrics and textures and colors were important, with a focus on creating a sense of depth and dimensionality. The costumes were also designed to be visually striking, with a focus on creating a sense of drama and spectacle. And I think overall the series had, that initial success, even though it wasn't a long-running series, because of its production design and, perhaps even some similarities to other well-known shows at the time, like Highlander and Renegade and so on. So the critical reception was kind of not a lot because of the series' resemblance to Highlander in a lot of ways. And it's undeniable that perhaps even the way how the writers intended, right, and the producers would have wanted the direction of this particular series to go, they were copying a lot of elements. And, for a show like this, it is, practically not that bad because it did last a year, right? And it had a lot of good martial arts sequences, right? And hands down, it's a really good portrayal of what fighting evil, actual demons would be like, So, and, demons that are in human flesh, basically. So, and it had a really good story to it too, because having, someone's life be basically changed because of a single incident, and then, being trusted into a world where they would have to protect others from the similar fate that they would have suffered, You can't really look at that as being anything too bad, right? And of course, for whatever reason, we don't have much information about why it was cancelled and, what would have happened, to it since. So here are a few of my favorite moments from the series. Initially, watching the first episode, and I have since rewatched it since I was so young. A tragic set of circumstances that would have led someone to dedicate his life to fighting and dispatching evil forces. This always gets me because, it's like, he could have just given up right there and just be like, this is not me. This is not my life. This is not what I want for my life. I want my wife. I want my child back, of course, turning that vengeance into what it becomes of becoming, a fighting force against evil and protecting others from a similar fate, not being overly selfish in his goal. Yes, he is partially selfish because throughout the series, he continues to hope and, at certain circumstances, try to get back his child, his daughter. I think by about episode 4 or so, I noticed that the teamwork from the characters has shown to be even better. So there was some dynamics of character building. There is some depth that is given to the characters by that time. And I think that is really good. But then throughout the remainder of the series, it's lacking. And when I say lacking, I'm not saying that it's not total, it's not there. There are some elements, but you don't see that build up that you would have seen from probably episode 1 to episode 4. And to me, that is not good enough. And I think, that might lead to the poor reception and the low reviews or, ratings of the series overall. So there are some theories that I have about some of these things that kind of gnaw at me, from watching the series. The romantic involvement of Rafe with Dr. Beckman, right? The parapsychologist. And I think that because of the way how we're introduced to her character, it felt a little bit too coincidental initially. So initially you might have been wondering why it is that she was even there, right? Why was she even? Because all these years, these many centuries, Raphael had Goodwin to rely on. He has been working with Goodwin and they have been having a good relationship. And so far, they have done, a pretty okay job with dispatching evil, getting rid of demons and working. So what dynamic? And I'm not saying that because she's a female, but what dynamic has Sarah really brought to the team? What, apart from being the one that has a little skepticism and wants to try things that are a little bit more scientific or, try some human touch, put some realistic elements on the supernatural stuff. So the romantic involvement to me was the thing, right? But it was lacking. I don't think it was fully realized, right? And maybe there are reasons for it. Maybe I'm missing something. But if you watch the series, if you happen to watch it, you can leave your feedback on that. Demons know martial arts. This is something that, watching it now is a crazy idea. But, when you're a kid, and you see something like this, and especially for that time, yeah, man, martial arts was the thing. It was a craze in Hollywood in terms of, most TV shows and movies would have some element of it. And, everybody can, good and evil battling, you can't have just the main character beating against people who can't fight, right? So you make sure, say, demons can fight too. But as a story, it says, okay, fine, they're supernatural. So yes, whatever good would have a counter. It will have some similarities in terms of, skills and abilities and be able to do. But, it just jumps out at me that, hey, demons know martial arts. Of course, they could, find some other, vile ways to fight, and or something, But yeah, all of them just like, I mean, you just be seeing like a normal guy on the street and he'd be doing something normal, and then when you identify and say it's a demon, the man just break out into some martial arts. So, yeah, it's just something that I think I love that element of the show, the martial arts thing, but yeah, sometimes just feels like, hey, I'm watching this thing happening in front of me, like, wow, it just breaks out like, you see this old man and doing stuff. Anyways, don't want to go on a rant on that one. I noticed something funny enough in this series, and in the in universe stuff usually gets me too. When I see some stuff that gets taken into a particular universe, I'm like, whoa, look at that. And one of them was MacGyver. MacGyver exists in their universe because they talk about it. I think Goodwin speaks about several series and movies, but MacGyver stood out to me because I'm like, isn't MacGyver from like, that particular side of things? It's more to do, it's not, it's not clashing with this particular series, because this series is sci-fi in nature, and has elements of martial arts and action. But MacGyver is about some guy who can basically use things around him to do some very crazy stuff. So when you have that being used, or using something that is recognizable and easily pop culture in a particular story or movie, it just, kind of brings things to a center, So, yeah, I'm just sorry that, the series had to be booted, but that is just what it is, Business is business, I guess. Share your favorite Immortal moments or theories, whether you thought that you agree with some of my theories or that, some of my theories were way off, right? So in this episode, we looked at the Immortal series from 2000, the characters. We looked at some of the tropes and the themes and symbols of this series. We spoke about the production and design, what went into that. And briefly touched what the reception was and a possible theory that the series had a low rating and that is why it was eventually cancelled, or probably because it was so similar to Highlander. Looked at some of my theories in terms of where I thought the show was going, or where there are some things that really bothered me in terms of what the show really was trying to convey. As always, I want to encourage you to subscribe and follow the podcast for future deep dives into a world of sci-fi like you've never seen. This time I want to thank you for listening. Thank you for tuning in. This is our 10th episode, guys. This is a real great pleasure. It has been up to this point to be able to bring these episodes and these podcast episodes each week. As I've always said, we're working on it, doing different works in post-production, pre-production. I have a few things that I'm working on to ensure that I can give you quality and effective storytelling on all of these different TV series and movies.
See you next time.